real quick. Hurry up. Here they come. All right. Turn around. Do it right now. No, on me. Okay. All right, throw it over. Throw it. Give me that. Throw it. Thank you, man.
So good afternoon and welcome to Suffolk County. We just had our first court conference subsequent to the arraignment in New York State. We have a very extensive discovery statute, which we are endeavoring to comply with the work of both the court and defense counsel. This is a 13-year case, so as you saw, we have a great deal of information, evidence, photographs, reports to provide to the defense counsel. We've begun that process. I think it was 8 gigabytes of material, which is a tremendous amount. And that's just the beginning. We're going to continue to do that on a rolling basis. And this case, the charges in the indictment are just allegations. So this is the first step in the process of proving those allegations. So we look forward to undertaking that process. We've spoken to the victims. The victims are not going to be making any. They've elected not to make any statements at this to the media at this time. They want to maintain their privacy. They are obviously interested in the case, but they're not going to be speaking to the media. So that's about it.
Can you talk about your family members were here, which family members there were here, some of them in court today? Do they want to be there for every update? What's it been like for them?
So, as you can imagine, it's a very personal thing for the victims' families. So we're going to support the victims' families. They make the decision as to what they do, where they go, who they speak with. So I would never speak for the the victims' families, other than to say, we're going to support them in whatever it is that they want to do.
Are you aware if they were here today?
There were some victims. There were some victims who were family members of the victims who were here today.
Which victims?
I'm not going to discuss that.
Can you explain what that order of protection you got the defense attorney to agree to?
So there's just certain conditions with regard to the disclosure of materials, and that's something that was worked out between the court, defense counsel, and ourselves, and that's standard procedure. It's under seal.
What was discussed?
You said it will take a whole month to go through.
I'm sorry?
Voluminous, you say it will take a full month to go through.
You're talking about 13 years worth of investigation. So it is. I'm not going to speak for defense counsel, but suffice to say, it is a massive amount of material. And don't forget, it's continuing because the investigation is continuing. So we're talking about a massive amount of material.
Any of the other task force that's been in place, and we understand that you want to keep it in place and also expand your full case unit. Are you getting tips about other victims who may have been found on highways or roadways near where Heuermann may have lived or where he may have frequented? Are you getting new tips that are valuable to you?
We receive tips on in all cases at all times. We take those serious and we work through them, but we maintain the confidentiality of the investigation up until the time we can bring charges.
Can you say what was discussed in chambers in the long conference before?
It was basically what I just elicited, what I just spoke to you all about, which was the discovery schedule and the manner in which we were going to get this massive amount of discovery over to the defense. It has to be done in a way that makes sense for the defense, but also makes sense for us as well, so they can understand what they get, and we're able to catalog and identify, what exactly it is we provided.
Last time you said that you had some case. Last time you said that it was from stories about the DNA for the 4 victims. Is already progress about that?
So the investigation is continuing, but once that investigation is concluded, we'll have more to say. But that investigation is ongoing.
Last week you said the scores of evidence gathered at the Massive Eco Park home would take time to sift through. How much of what was handed over today is from last week's search?
It was placed on the record, specifically what we turned over, which is part of the court record. I don't think anything specifically from the recent searches has been turned over.
There are some reports that Heuermann's soon-to-be ex-wife is upset at the way the house was effectively turned upside down. She might try to bring forward a case. What's your response to that?
She could pursue whatever remedies she feels are necessary.
If things are proceeding as they have been, do you anticipate a trial? You do not anticipate a plea deal?
I don't anticipate anything. I anticipate that we have to show up every day. We have to comply with our discovery requirements, and we'll negotiate the case in good faith with the court and defense counsel and see how it plays out, just like any other case. I've led many cases. Last one being in 2019. So this is what we do as prosecutors.
Is it imminent that you might go before the grand jury to seek additional charges in this case?
As we've said, we've worked through the grand jury process. That grand jury process is continuing. The good thing about the grand jury process is we can subpoena witnesses and evidence, but it's also secret. So we'll maintain the secrecy of that grand jury until the grand jury has acted.
When is your term up?
We're not going to discuss specific terms with regard to this or any other grand jury.
What happens next on September 27th? What needs to happen between now and then?
So what needs to happen between now and then, we need to continue to comply with the discovery requirements. We're working with the court. We're working with defense counsel. That discovery is going to be going out on a rolling basis. And as was indicated in court, it's a tremendous amount of material. So we're going to continue to provide that. Obviously, the defense is going to need time to digest all of that which we're given.
Do you anticipate a date for the end of discovery? The process is going to take a while.
It's going to take a while, and we just need to be productive, and that's something that we'll work out with regard to both the court and counsel.
When we spoke at the home, you said nothing jumped out initially from what you took from the home. Has that changed?
So when I say nothing jumps out, I mean, you wait until all the facts are in, and then you draw conclusions from those facts. So we still have to continue to wait for all of that, and not only the cataloging of the evidence, but all of the testing, including forensic testing, to get done, which unfortunately, unlike sometimes on TV, it just doesn't happen overnight.
How long does forensic testing take?
It varies. It depends upon what you're talking about. Is it DNA? Is it some other analysis? Is it mitochondrial DNA? Is it nuclear DNA? So it's very, it's dependent upon the facts and circumstances of each individual piece of evidence. So we just have to wait for the process to play out.
At least months.
It's certainly weeks.
Some of the DNA evidence all of it is over a decade old. How confident are you of the methods the lab is using? Some of it untested, some of it more modern, and being clear?
Extremely confident. It's all been tested. It's all been deemed admissible in courts of law across the United States, so we're confident in our science.
And as far as the victims go, how many families were here to support, were they here supporting three of the victims? How many different families are we talking today?
So that's a tough question to answer, because I think, there are people who are physically here. I can tell you that we have a great dialogue with all the victims' families, and they're all supporting in one way or the other. So I'm not going to get into specifics with specifically who's here and who's not here. But what I will say is the victims' families are interested and engaged.
Can you give us some idea of the timetable? Are you handing over discovery like once a month? Is that generally what you do?
So what we've said is a rolling basis, and what that essentially means is when you're talking about this massive amount of material, we're just basically starting and then culling the material, providing it, and then sort of repeating the process. But there's it's a massive amount of material.
Can you say anything about the fourth victim? Are you close to filing charges in that case?
The investigation with regard to all of the remaining bodies on Gilgo is continuing.
Is the wife cooperating with the whole process?
We don't speak about anyone who talks to us with regard to our investigations. We maintain the confidentiality of anyone who may or may not be talking to us.
The wife said that her home and her life is in turmoil, specifically after the investigation was resolved. Is that any time into her?
Nope.
How many victims had family representatives here? Just the number.
So I'm not gonna speak for the victims. The victims are they'll speak for
I
themselves.
want their names. Just how many?
I'm not gonna.
More than one.
More than one, but I'm not going to talk specifically about the
Discovery
victims.
included surveillance video from the Waterman case, Megan Waterman. Can you just help explain what that is in reference to?
I mean, I believe some of that video pertains to the motel that Ms. Waterman was staying at shortly before her disappearance.
DA, did you tell us what will happen on the 27th?
Basically, what happened here, it's just a repeat. There'll be, obviously the defense will have the opportunity to provide, to go through what we've provided. We're going to be continuing to provide on a rolling basis. So it'll be just the opportunity for us to continue the process with defense counsel, as well as being able to inform the court of our progress and the status of the case.
Did the families make any request of you, or you give any message to them that you can talk about? The families have opted not to speak at this time, and I certainly respect that. And again, we don't dictate to our victims any particular message that they should or shouldn't be giving. So I think that's it. But thanks all for coming, and we'll see you back on the 27th. Thanks.
Thank you very much.